feedback on the first quiz. I'm going to go through the answers. The answers will be made available to you, and you can retake it as many times as you want to use it as a study guide. So good luck. The first question, most people got this one right completely, but there were some mistakes. The key areas are social development, physical, personality, and cognitive. Nature, nurture, and evolutionary are really just topics or concepts. So make sure that you keep that straight. Just kind of a fact thing. Of the second question, most people got this one right as well, 90%. Again, nature is the stuff that we just kind of get. Nurture is the stuff that happens to us after we get what we got. So genetics are the things that we get, the nature side of things. Our culture, our language, our religion, our exercise habits, and our diet are all things that just kind of happen to us and affect us after we get what we got. So make sure that you have the difference between those two things clear. And again, most people do. Here we have matching each theoretical perspective with its description. So the psychodynamic perspective focuses on the inner drives and conflicts that shape behavior. Most people got that. When we look at the behavioral perspective, we see that it focuses on the elements of the environment that can be directly observed. The cognitive perspective focuses on inner workings of the mind. Humanistic perspective focuses on the ability of individuals to exercise choice, or what it is to be a human. The contextual perspective focuses on how the different areas of society and our relationships determine who we become. And finally, the evolutionary perspective focuses on those external factors that shaped how our bodies, minds, and behaviors developed historically. Now, they will probably be rephrased or described in a different way on the exam, but there will be a question very similar to this, and I will ask you at some point also to say, what would the behavioristic perspective say about genetics or something like that? If we're talking about matching the type of environmental stimuli with the appropriate behavioral perspective, classical conditioning is again where we have conditioned and unconditioned stimuli and conditioned and unconditioned responses, right? So when you smell your one's favorite food that makes you sick, that's something that's an association that happens automatically. You're not thinking about it, and it's just a classically conditioned response. If you give your dog a treat for listening to your commands correctly, that is operant conditioning. You're rewarding them to try and reinforce the behavior. Remember, operant conditioning is slightly different because we're talking about how rewards and punishers impact behavior and learning. If we think about how you observe and learn, that's social cognitive theory, and most people got this. When you think about your parents grounding you, that again is operant conditioning because it serves as a punishment to shape your behavior. Finally, your dog starts to drill when you ask them to sit because you have given them treats in the past, so now their body just automatically expects it. That is a classically conditioned response. So make sure that you feel confident in your ability to differentiate between these, and if you have any questions, please let me know. Finally, we come down to the whole idea of correlational research. Now again, the big driving factor is, or big take-home message is, correlation is not causation. So anything that would hint at causation should automatically be a red flag. So this first one, a lot of people chose this. Correlations concern an independent variable and a dependent variable. Typically, I want you to keep in mind that an independent variable kind of stands by itself, but the dependent variable depends on the independent variable, and so you are trying to establish some kind of causal connection. And I don't want people to make that a mistake. Oftentimes, people use these terms and talk about correlations, but that's not a hallmark or a characteristic of correlational research. We are not saying that one thing depends on another or that there's any causation at all. We're just looking to see how things relate. Most people recognize that You don't have control groups and manipulations. Those are experimental things. You don't have those in correlational research. Correlations do not make you or allow you to make claims about causes, and most people, 90% of the people, got that. Correlational research involves naturalistic observations. That is absolutely true. It can be cross-sectional or longitudinal, but correlational research never involves case studies. That is not true. Sometimes correlational research does involve case studies. But that is it. If you have any questions, please let me know and I will respond to them via discussion board or an announcement or some similar way to communicate to the class.